Chapter 4 in Detmer gets into the component structures and methods of collaborating and consulting. And it starts with 4 essential components of consultation. And we'll begin with preparation. Here we're referring to each team member's preparation coming into beginning the consultative process or the collaborative process. So what is our prior experience with that kind of work? If we're a pre-service teacher, did we have training in our pre-service program? Advanced teachers may have a lot of professional development in this area, so that's the first thing to think about is each member's preparation. Secondly, what is the role of each individual member? So delineating those roles and recognizing that you may have a role different than your title at school, for example. So your role would be determined by that particular consultative purpose. And then clarifying what each role is and the parameters around what we expect and what our responsibilities are. Having parity among the members so that not too much responsibility falls on only a few. And then the whole collaborative team having the same expectations around what would be a successful collaborative outcome here. The structures are your basic nuts and bolts kinds of things like when is the time going to happen and where everyone is available, what kinds of resources the team would need, how would things be organized throughout the process as far as meetings go, communicating with one another, getting the plan on paper, and then the management of the entire process, meeting times, all of those things, those components, those structures that have to be in place to have the process move along. And then support refers to the team agreeing upon how they would assess their own success and each member bringing to the team assessment measures of information around the students' programming and their success within that program, and using that assessment to evaluate the process and knowing whether changes need to be made, acceptance of how it's going, and being a part of the team. It should typically be voluntary, of course, and then commitment to continuing to being invested in the success of the work and being willing to use the formative evaluation to make changes and continue to get to the long-term goal for the student. The facets of the collaborative school consultation that your author describes begins on page 101. And there's also a graphic there that talks about each of them. The system is referring to exactly, how the system of collaboration fits into the school. There are many different systems that are out there that can be used, and so those are reviewed in the book. We've talked a bit about personal perspective. Perspective for consulting and collaboration has evolved really in our field. And, there's many different ways that collaboration has come about. We think about doctor-patient collaboration processes, those sorts of things. So they're all described in the text as far as perspective goes. The approach, there are many different approaches. Again, it can be formal, it can be informal. These are decisions to be made either at the district or school level or even within the group themselves. Prototypes for collaboration. There's some discussion of this with regard to even the COMPAS model. So we're looking at, are you using a mental health prototype? There are different models that have been drawn from for different purposes. And again, you'll find those in the textbook. The mode of the collaborative or consultative group. Is it going to be a direct consultative and collaborative model? Is it indirect? How is the information relayed after the team does their work? And with models, they can take on all sorts of different configurations, and there are many of them mentioned in the text. Many of our schools have different groups using many different models to meet different needs. So, things like It can be strictly consultee-centered consultation. It can be a teacher assistance team model, all sorts of different models that should be designed to specifically meet the needs of what the purpose of the consultation is and the collaboration is to begin with.